All right, welcome back, guys. So, this is going to be a quick episode. Right before we dive in to the pillars, we just want to tell you guys a little bit about ourselves, why we want to do this, how we got started in regards with improving ourselves, and just give you a little bit of insight.
It's sort of like a intermission episode.
Exactly. We were debating whether we were going to include this in the last one or do it on its own. We just kind of didn't do it last time, so here we are. But yeah, let's just dive in. So, my story really started taking place when I was a freshman, and I was, dissatisfied with my life, basically. I was spending a lot of time in my room, not really doing anything to help myself or other people. I wasn't doing the best school as I usually do, and I was hooked on video games and just wasting time, basically. I had no direction, and I knew that I had to do something different, and I had to shake myself up. I have to interrupt the pattern that I was living. And what better way to do that than exercising, I thought to myself. So I Googled workouts, I Googled programs, ended doing up like a 90-day program. And over the summer, following my freshman year, I had lost 20 pounds. And that really cleared up my mental game, essentially, to focus on other things. And at that time, too, I started learning about computers, started building computers as a hobby. It's still a hobby of mine. It's not something serious that I do, but I love doing it. Built, I think, 4 computers so far. My good friend Dalton here, I built his computer. So yeah, doing that, taking that first step, freed up mental space for me to do other things. And I was meditating too. I got into meditation. Started doing 5-minute meditations, 10-minute meditations, 15-minute meditations sometimes, and then a year or two later I started doing 20, and now I do 30. But it really started with that, just admitting that I could be doing better. There was more for me. And yeah, it literally felt like I was deteriorating at some point.
So, what was a reason for you to distract yourself with video games? Why do you think you did that?
I did that because I had social anxiety at the time. I had feelings of, I guess, I didn't have confidence, I guess.
And where did that come from?
Before I came to the States, I was doing great at school. Then when I landed in the U.S. from my home country, Syria, it took a toll on my confidence because it was hard for me to express myself because of the language barrier, and I kept using that as an excuse for some time until I decided to really change, because I knew I was capable of change. And I knew I needed it, and I knew that there was more to the day-to-day routine I was doing. I could be doing more. I also used to play guitar before I isolated myself, basically, during my freshman year. But as I started exercising, meditating, weaning myself off of that stuff, I got back into playing guitar. I started picking up new hobbies, and everything changed. So that's the one event that really got me to change. And it's not about changing overnight, like I said before. 5-minute meditation, 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute, and now I'm trying to do 45. It's really about doing anything to change your daily pattern, and that was what I needed to interrupt my own pattern. Yeah, I hope that made sense. What about you, Dalton? What do you feel like is the one event that really got you to want to change or improve?
So, I have to say that the majority of my life has been relatively easy. I didn't grow up in poverty. I'm a white male, born and raised in America. And ever since I was a toddler until, a few years ago, when I was living with my grandparents and my mother, everything was pretty much done for me. My laundry was done and folded and in my drawers. The dishes were taken away from where I had left them, cleaned, put away. Anytime I had trouble with homework, they just gave me the answers. And I feel like this kind of developed a mentality that I didn't have to face my own problems. That if I showed struggle and I ran from them a little bit, then they would somehow solve themselves. And I carried this trait with me for a long time of running away from my problems. When my mother got a boyfriend and moved out of my grandparents' house, I lacked discipline and I didn't listen to what she had told me to do, and she wasn't very disciplinary in general. And I got into some bad habits because of that, hung out with the wrong people. And then I moved around a few times, so it was kind of hard for me to keep friends, and I kind of did the same thing that Ian did here and locked myself away playing video games because it gave me comfort and because it was easy. Video games didn't have to face life challenges and responsibilities. And this eventually carried me all the way to the point where I was living with my grandparents again, and I didn't like the lack of discipline they had, the coddling, I would call it, that they gave to me. Instead of being grateful for what I had and doing what I could do in order to better my situation and become a man, I decided to leave the situation entirely and move out into an apartment of my own. I told myself it was because I was discovering who I was and finding my self-discipline, and in part it was, but in reality it was me running away from my problems. And because of that root, it repeated itself. I had a girlfriend, and when we broke up, instead of realizing, okay, this was a learning opportunity, I can do better from this, I decided to let my emotions get the best of me, and once again, I ran away from my problems and moved to Connecticut on my own. Now, this was a really low point in my life. I ran away from a great education system, amazing relationships, and it costed me graduating with the class of 2020. Every day, all I did was work. I worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then 8 hours on Sunday. And it was hard manual labor. I surrounded myself with people I couldn't trust, people who stole from me, who lied to me. And I was kind of lost. And it made me realize what I had to be grateful for, and that I couldn't just run away from my problems any longer. Because if I did, I would be all alone and miserable. And
it's powerful.
And luckily, when I realized this, I was able to reach out to my good friend here, Ian. And Ian has been such a great influence on me. His habits for exercising, meditation, eating, all of it has rubbed off on me and inspired me to be better.
Yeah, that's, I feel like, what you have to do.
Just one quick thing I want to say is I went from someone who avoided my problems, who was out of shape, to somebody who's now pursuing a career in special forces in the Air Force, to someone who puts challenges in front of him because it's going to make me a better person and because it makes me happy. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so you went from avoiding your problems, avoiding communication, and being honest that, hey guys, I don't want to live like this, to running away and then coming back running, and then eventually just to discover that, as you say, the path of least resistance is actually the worst path you can take.
Absolutely.
And for me, I was in a comfortable position, even though, I came from a third world country. I still relatively was comfortable because, my dad makes a good living and I had above average living conditions, and I'm so grateful for it. But it's so easy to just fall into your easy, comfortable routine. But having friends and an environment where you're like, oh, okay, you can push yourself a little more, do it. that mentality, it has been helpful, and that's what Dolan and I have been doing for basically a year. And we were like, hey, we're about improving, and we both were comfortable, and we learned why it's a better idea not to be comfortable. And for me, what I'm working on right now is I have a music production business and a music marketing business, and I would have not started these, not really believed in myself, have I not only met a supportive friend, but also continued implementing the self-improvement habits that we'll be sharing. So that's where I am. It's been an absolutely great journey, and there's more to come, and we'll be sharing that with you guys every now and then. So if our stories resonated with you, or if you have any comments, feel free to comment or even message us. We'd love to hear from you. But I think that's it for me.
Yeah, shout out to our new Instagram account at self_improvement_podcast. If you guys want to shoot us a DM, give us a follow. That way we can, interact with you guys.
Yeah, you can recommend us things that you want us to talk about, and we'll do that for you. All right, have a good day.